Welcome to 2025, your unstoppable journey of becoming chartered accountant. In 2025, in that journey, advanced business reporting is one of the key subjects. Why? It's beyond financial reporting. That's why I introduced this course saying that it is a course that builds your capabilities beyond examination, boardroom skills, right? So you will really realize during this course, so that's our introduction session. So this is a short video to really see what you are going to learn during the course as well as in the introduction sessions that we are going to have on the 3rd January. So what I want to say, this subject has evolved, especially if you look at last week the exam was held and I spoke to a few students to ask what is the feeling, and most said the time management was very difficult. And I'm sad sometimes some of the students haven't having spent a lot of time to do calculation, working, etc. Very easily you can approach about 40 plus marks with this not only theoretical knowledge but the boardroom skill that it will give you, the most sought after knowledge now. For example, IFRS sustainability standards, most of the boards from this year 2025, top 100 companies, it is mandatory to follow these standards, but in the market this knowledge is lacking. If you want to learn A to Z, it will be covered. Of course, you don't need A to Z to answer the exam question. I will show you in this short video the last exam that was held last week, how examiner tested these things, which we discussed, obviously before the examination. So, when you embark on this course, be aware about not that traditional, this syllabus has evolved over last few years and probably this may be the last exam, right? So what changes have happened during the last, if you look at last 2 papers, you will realize, because there was a syllabus change. To say that this is not auditing, this is a governance paper. When you become a chartered accountant, this is the paper that gives you maturity in terms of financial reporting, how to look at beyond the numbers about the internal control systems, and then boardroom discussion, how you contribute as a CFO from the lens of risk. And then when it comes to corporate governance, code, the listing rules, the sustainability, whatever, those regulatory framework, how as a competent CFO you are going to contribute. So what is new is, it is not auditing, it's the CFO perspective to risk. I'll show you the latest paper, how it was tested, right, during next 10 minutes. And then sustainability standards, I have done several sessions, those available even now in YouTube, you can find out, right? And then especially this code was changed together with the corporate governance code, the listing rules were changed, and I emphasized when I did sessions 2 weeks before prior to the exam, I emphasized students these changes are very, very important, and I'm going to show you how it was tested in the latest paper. Again, the emphasis is this is not just auditing, but practicing governance, risk of misstatement from the lens of a CFO. That is where you use certain auditing concepts to interpret accounting standard and say, look here, revenue may be overstated in this way, and to write that in the risk language. That's this paper. So when you look at, now the list has changed. See this, you can see what paper I am taking now. It's December 24, last week, right? And today we are 1st of January. Now look at these additions, climate related disclosures. This is our hot standards now. As I told you, in Sri Lanka, this is mandatory. And from the very first exam, this was tested, was the last paper. Simply the examiner started testing. And those who are starting this subject newly, you will not be aware, even study text chapters are now open book. That is available. Sometimes students are not aware. When you start, everything you need to know. And in this 10 minutes, I will tell you the secret of passing exam at once. What is my qualification to say that? Is the credential. The approach that I am recommending to you is not about qualification. 2 decades of guiding students to become more mature. Passing exam, vibhagayak pass වෙනවා කියන එක nothing. Nothing meaning, but you need to really work towards that. but beyond that, what you learn will be immensely valuable students. So therefore, from that sense, you need to approach the subject. So look at especially this list. You will also see the corporate governance, the new code 2023. So there are a lot of things, a lot of books mentioned here, but practically is it possible to look at all of this during the exam? Very, very difficult. That's where you need to have a very good approach to this subject. There's so many books. If you put it here, I mean, unbelievable, you will never read it. But how do you really navigate all of this to figure out this is what I need and this is how I should approach? So from that point of view, I'll just show you how these were tested, right? These new things. Now see here, examiner specifically giving the description. This is the latest paper, December 24. Now these are the board members. These all were given in the pre-scene. Before the exam, we were really analyzing this information, right? Whether they are executive directors, non-executive directors, and now examiner's question is based on the CA code. You comment on the composition of the board and then listing rule, right? Based on the listing rule, especially listing rule amendment 23. Right now you can see how new knowledge is tested. Therefore, be ready for this exam, right, with new knowledge. So secondly, I said the CFO's perspective rather than audit. Now look at again from the same pre-scene 50 marks question. Now previously this is 12 marks, sorry 10 marks. This is another 12, 10 plus 12, 20 out of 50. How valuable in a challenging paper like that to easily get this 20 out of 20, right? I mean, it's not a challenge if you know the art of writing, if you know the concept precisely, this is what it is, right? So that you need to be properly guided to learn, and that is my duty to cover from A to Z. Finally, if you watch all the videos, you will come to a state that I can really write without much depending on anybody, right? Because finally it is not me, you are going to do the exam, right? So that's the way, that's my approach. That's called coaching type teaching, not just traditional teaching, one-way teaching, right? So all of these books, I mean the corporate governance code, the listing rules, and this is the study text that you can take as a supplement, and new standards are now available in open book. So the style is coaching, meaning I want to ask this question. You can say sometimes in exams, when students fail exams, they are very frustrated and say, Mama හැමදාම පන්ති ගියා වීඩියෝ ඔක්කොම බැලුවා, right? It failed. All the lectures were attended, all the instructions were followed, right? But unfortunately, doing the same past paper again and again, many times, failed. Why? That is where students, you need to have the confidence that whatever paper, now same past paper will not come. Obviously from past papers you will learn a lot. But what builds your confidence, whatever question comes, if you are coached properly, to think intelligently, this is what examiner is asking and this is how I have to produce the answer, and look here, this is how I write it, and I have done it before the exam many times. Exam question is nothing for me, and that is the secret. So undoubted success for the exam is to think like examiner. So there are three things there. How do you do that? Start with the LO. Any past paper question, any exam question has to be based on a learning outcome, and you have to learn that learning outcome and write the answer in the way examiner wants it. And I'll show you in 2 minutes. First point, to show you that you may not know the LO because you have never read it, you have never understood it, right? So the most valuable thing that you have to read before the exam or in preparing for the exam is to read the learning outcome. This is corporate governance. This is board of directors. The learning outcome says, discuss the functions of the board including performance and conformance. දැන් මේ වචන දෙක explain කරන්න බැරි නම් මොකද්ද performance කියන්නේ, මොකද්ද conformance කියන්නේ? මේවා පොතේ නැහැ. Unfortunately, this is not in corporate governance code. But you need, this is advanced corporate governance. That's why I said this is a practicing subject, right? Now, if you really look at The board functions can be broken into 4: strategy formulation, policy making, and those actually connect to the performance, right? And when it comes to accountability as well as policy, accountability as well as monitoring, supervision, and that connects to conformance. For you to learn that, you have to really read page 820, and understand this whole framework of how board is looking ahead in terms of strategy setting within the policy framework, that is future related role. And when it comes to the past and today's role, board is monitoring management, and they have to prepare accounts and to be accountable. Right? But that, unless you go through this page 820, understand this in your words and be confident to explain, then only you know the LO. If examiner decide to set a question, given a scenario, discuss the performance and conformance, you are lost, right? So this is proper learning. You learn the LO, this is the LO, understand it, and then knowledge, you read it, interpret, and then write answers. So that's what you need to do. I mean, that's all what I have to say. I said 10 minutes. So that's where I want you to come and see how this course is delivered for you, not just to pass the exam, but to acquire that boardroom skill and to be a mature chartered accountant. Again, wish you all the best in your journey in this day, 1st of January, to be a chartered accountant in 2025. Thank you.